Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this lovely session. And lovely to see that we have such a strong audience to continue the discussion and the presentation of Mr. Faisal. We have the opportunity to explore the topic of future water and energy system with Thomas. Thomas is Chief Financial Officer at EtihadWE. Sure. So fundamentally, being able to tell us a bit more about the journey that the company and that he witnessed within the UAE in the last year. So with no further ado, I would like to start the conversation and start from this journey that UAE has taken in terms of sustainability agenda. And how EtihadWE has supported the fulfillment of this agenda, and maybe touch upon some of the flagship projects that actually have contributed to meeting some of the objectives set by this agenda.
Will be a very, very good question, and thank you for being here and contributing to that forum. And the national agenda, Net Zero 2050, is without any doubt, certainly one of the most ambitious agendas that a country can adopt in the world. And why I'm saying that, because it's a complete transformation of what traditionally has been done in the energy, but also in the water sector. And on top, this country in particular, but also we in the Northern Emirates in specific are supporting an enormous amount of growth as well. You could perceive that as a contradiction, but actually sometimes it helps as well, because by simply addressing the growth, you can replace certain infrastructure and thereby achieving the target that you want to achieve. In that sense, we as EtihadWE, being the utility in charge for energy distribution, transmission distribution, retail, and water, the same for the Northern Emirates, form integral part of the national strategy for energy, respectively water, and all the associated initiatives that are there. And you can already sense that when we look into different projects that have been driving that, be it on a national level. And just to pick one, the nuclear power plant in Abu Dhabi, in essence, is on a UAE level, the cornerstone of the strategy for having carbon-free baseload for the country. And we also in the Northern Emirates, in our cooperation with EVEC, are participating in that one. So that is simply how we as a Northern Emirates, in cooperation with others on a national level, feed into that strategy. That is one part. And we will not change that. That is simply for the next years to come part of that strategy in the country and how we work as a utility in that context. On the other hand, and this is then more or less exclusively for the Northern Emirates, when we talk about water, let's touch that one first. In reality, water is energy to most of the extent, because 95% of the water we are using, our customers are using, is produced with desalination, based on desalination. And what we have done in the past quite successfully, we have built via an independent water producer, but we are majority shareholder of that one, with Nakar, with 150 gallons per day, one of the biggest reverse osmosis, what is highly energy efficient desalination plants in the Emirates. And that is part of that strategy as well on the Northern Emirates. But it's not only about water production, it's also about, when you look into our grids, what projects we are driving, for example, how you establish your grid. Traditionally, that was done on pumps basis. And pumps, again, are consuming energy. What we have done is transform most of our grid, not everything, but a significant part of our grid on gravity-supported solutions. And that in quantitative terms is saving 36 million 36 million kilowatt hours per year, compared to a traditional pump-based distribution system. Those are projects we are driving in Northern Emirates, but being part of the bigger approach.
Absolutely. And I love the system-based approach that you mentioned, right? Because on the one side, we need to decarbonize the grid and to have large projects in which maybe we partner up and we have an ecosystem-based approach. On the other hand, of course, we work towards decentralized solutions at the consumer-based, right? The two angles. But then we discuss about resource efficiency, because on one is indeed the UAE is growing, right? So in absolute terms, you might increase in terms of water consumption, energy consumption, but you need to always think about the intensity of that consumption rather than think just absolute terms, right? And I think that was also one of your objectives and your goals, and you have some programs that actually addressed this within, I know that you, for example, smart metering was one of the great initiatives, and maybe we can touch upon
happy to do so. As a utility, you always have to focus on two dimensions. The one is resilience, and the other one is efficiency. Those are the key two drivers. Let's assume resilience for a moment. Let's talk about efficiency. And in that context, our advanced metering infrastructure, AMI, with smart meters is the cornerstone of our strategy. It was launched already something like 4 to 5 years ago, but it only picked off with thrust in the course of the last 2 years. And meanwhile, we have deployed 500,000 devices in the field for energy and for water as well. On water, you can separate between bulk meters and then the end customer meters. And that is extremely crucial to address one pain point of utilities, and we have that one specifically in the Northern Emirates, that is non-revenue water. What was a significant pain point for our not only physical efficiency, but also our economic efficiency as an entity. Because every water you lose, every water you don't sell, you have then to produce in the first place, and that comes with electricity, with power consumption. That is just waste. And just to give you two numbers, when we started off this initiatives 2 years ago, our non-revenue water was exceeding levels of 30%. Exceeding levels of 30%. What is also on a global basis not standard. This is not what we want to have. We have given us ambitious targets to get to what is internationally acceptable. And by deploying smart meters, we have brought that one down to slightly above 20%. What is a significant improvement in our water distribution? And when we think about drivers for that, it's in combination with other means. You are way better capable to detect leakages, for example. You can detect abnormalities in your grid, in your consumption base. But what for certain you can do is you can be way more accurate in how you measure your water distribution. And in essence, the same applies for energy. So that is a core of our strategy.
Perfect. And in terms of, let's say, what it allows you to do even further, right? So in terms of the technology, the data uses approach, it allows you to be more complex in terms of the products, the services that you put on the market, on the product categories. I know that you're also expanding your product offering towards e-mobility, towards decentralized energy generation. All these solutions require a more complex infrastructure to actually run them efficiently and accurate.
It's a very relevant point. As an AMI, and we are embracing it, and it forms really a central part of our company strategy, bringing down non-revenue water was the target in the first place. But what is coming with that one, and now we talk about data for a moment. Data points in the past, with traditional metering infrastructure, you go to the customer maybe once per month to measure a certain consumption. Not very accurate, you can easily imagine. With the meter infrastructure we have out as of today, we measure consumption with our end customer or at any point once per day. By connecting all those meters that we have now out in the field with telecommunication infrastructure, and we still have to work on that one as well, connecting all those meters, you can increase that frequency up to, it depends always what you can absorb from a storage perspective, but easily up to doing it every 15 minutes. And that gives you capabilities to monitor consumption over the day in ways that were not possible in the past. So why is this important? And you have touched already another aspect, and that is decentralized solar systems. And that is a very, very important element in our national strategy, by the way, as well. It's a national program that we are supporting and deploying in the Northern Emirates. It is changing the nature of our customers. In the past, the customer was a consumer. Now, by being a consumer, the customer becomes a producer as well.
A prosumer.
It's a prosumer. That's a weird word, but it's a prosumer. And that is what you have to address. And the only way from a metering infrastructure, your point of contact with the customer, that can only be done with those devices. So it's a precondition to embrace that other strategy as well and to bring it to its full fruition. This goes hand in hand. Without having smart meters, you don't have distributed energy production at all. It will not happen. So that is important. Furthermore, what then will happen, first by solar itself, that will help us as utilities. And when I now say utilities using the plural intentionally, as not only us, but also the utilities we are cooperating with in shaving the curve. Bringing energy production closer to energy consumption on a national grid level, because the pain point for any energy production is always the peak load, not so much the base load. You always have to prepare yourself for the peak load, and when you can bring that one closer in sync, that helps a lot. And energy and solar helps there a lot. Furthermore, and this is then also important, and that might need some regulatory enhancements as well, you can be way more versatile how you structure your tariff clusters that you have with your customers, and then give certain incentives for having consumption at specific times over the day where you want to have it. That is something that you can only do going forward with that infrastructure. Therefore, this is really absolutely core to be successful.
But then the second level, and I'm thinking now in the future of some of the challenges and some of the developments in the sector, considering increased intermittency, increased imbalances from decentralized, but also future technologies like vehicle to grid that will further increase the complexity and allow and force you to advance the digitalization towards the transformation stations, the whole grid, which needs to upgrade. And of course, that's a huge investment and a capital.
There are two elements of investments that we have to do. The first is classical property, plant, and equipment as a tangible stuff. And simply by the sheer amount that is needed to sustain that transformation, but also to sustain the future growth that we may expect. And just to give you another number here in this room to share with you, in the Northern Emirates, physically, in water and energy consumption, we have grown 2 years already with more than 10%. And we are expecting, and we see that already with the connections incoming, for 26 a similar development. And that is already coming with a significant investment that we have to address. And also there we have to change the way of thinking. We have to cooperate with other partners. We have to be, first of all, we need to have the blessing by our Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure. So on national level, we have to, as a utility in the Northern Emirates, we have to work with the local authorities, having the necessary NOCs, non-objecting certificates in place is not easy, or not always easy. So we are cooperating on that level. It's also about right-of-way, solving that one, having land available for certain developments. So we are cooperating there. We are cooperating, and we have to intensify that one, that cooperation with other utilities. So we are working quite closely together with SIVA, for example, just one of our neighboring utilities. We are working quite closely together with DIVA. So we are sharing water with them, what we are producing in the first place in Nakan. But as already mentioned, we also work closely together with EVEC, from whom we all procure all the other energy that we are using. So it's that is where we have to, this is on this political collaborative level where we have to intensify that one. But not only, and then going one level down, we have to work with certain investors, because doing everything on our own balance sheet, that will not work, in particular for the major infrastructure elements. So, and to be very, very specific, when I look into the Northern Emirates, anything to the Persian Gulf is already well connected, but when I then look into Fujairah, to the Indian Ocean, that is slightly disconnected, and we have to strengthen that one. And as a utility, we plan to have another desalination plant there as well, and that is going to be an independent water producer. So you need to tie in private capital for that exercise as well. And then, as mentioned, yes, we need to also to intensify our collaboration with our customers, and that is then going with new devices, and this is something that we work on actively. But as you easily can detect from my accent, I come from Germany. I have a house in Germany. I have a solar panel on the rooftop. Even here from Dubai, I can look into my WhatsApp, and not WhatsApp, on my mobile, and see what that one is doing. And this is then this added services that you can share with your end customer as well. And thereby, end customers really start to understand how their own consumption pattern looks like and what they can optimize. And this is then those added services that we can then share with our customers as well.
It's actually very exciting, right? Considering 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when conventional systems and infrastructure were pretty, let's say, stable, and you were controlling. Now you are discussing about partnerships. You need to involve all these stakeholders. Yep. Technology, regulators, the class customers become such an important stakeholder. Yep. Within the ecosystem. So the whole ecosystem becomes more integrated.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention that the future capabilities, I imagine, they're completed or significant different. So the skills, the capabilities from the young generation needs to be different for the people that you will integrate in this more complex ecosystem as a workforce.
And I'm fully with you. The way people, young people in particular, entering the workforce, think today, behave today, what they try to achieve is completely different to how we thought something like 30 years ago. It is a completely different thing. And in particular with anything around artificial intelligence. Sometimes it's a little bit a hype word, to be honest, but nevertheless.
It's a hype cycle, right?
It's a hype cycle as well, but there's a huge potential with that, if and when you address big data, in particular when you address big data. And utilities are doing a lot to prepare for that, to embrace that revolution. And this is a revolution that is happening as we speak. And when I look into our IT, let me call it really IT and system infrastructure, how we worked in the past. In utilities, you had an ERP system, then you had a SCADA system, then maybe you had a GIS system, and all those systems were maybe exchanging some information via API, but there was a lot of data not really properly structured, not really proper in quality, and certainly not properly utilized and addressed. And this is something that we are changing as we speak, as a really integrating updating our SCADA system, integrating that one with the AMI infrastructure, what is a big data input into that one, integrating that one also with our GIS information that we are having. This is a huge step forward compared to what we had in the past. In the past, GIS was just used for drawing maps. This is now really an enabler for load balancing, leakage addressing. This is really bringing the whole thing to another level. And then SCADA, ERP, AMM, GIS, and this is creating a huge data lake that you can address and what no individual can do anymore on an individual level. And you need to enhance your capabilities by MI, and certainly the young generation
will play a significant role
to feed into that thinking and to drive it to the next level.
Thomas, thank you so much for the insights, your view on where UAE water and energy systems are heading to. So thank you so much for your thoughts, and I'm not sure if we can take a few questions from the audience or if we need to go to the next session.
Happy to do so.
Thank you so much.